Hello, hello. We are in what? Developer workshop number 30 something. I'm not quite sure. I asked our creative team to help me come up with a better name than developer workshop. So coming soon, we're going to say something sexier. But for now, I did something really boring. I'm sorry. But anyways, I'm Emily. I do DevRel for Linea. Today we have a really great guest on today. Jackie, maybe start off with you introducing yourself.
Yes. Hello. Happy Wednesday. My name's Jackie. I also do developer relations at Dune. Let's see. I was doing, the data stuff in the banking, TradFi world, and then I just stumbled upon digital assets from my company actually, and I was like, oh, let me check this out. And then I think I just like fell in love too much with the concept. And then at the time, it's like I literally Google like I think Ethereum data, and then like Dune comes up, and I'm like, okay, let me start building things on Dune. And then sure enough, I run into like a community of Dune/data people. And fast forward 2 years, I've been here for 2 years. Yeah, and then recently been working on the Dune API side a lot. So really excited to share with everybody today about Dune API, what sort of API we have, and how do you start building with Dune API.
Yeah. Wild. I've never heard of like Dune being not to say anything about Dune specifically, but like Dune being the entrant into Web3. Like, I don't know, usually I get like my first thing was like scaffold ETH or like reading this Ethereum.org page. And I was like, oh, Dune has good SEO is what I'm hearing.
It was like a Medium article that my current
Oh,
coworker wrote. Like I just Googled
yeah.
data Ethereum, and then he had written this like a series of posts about how do you like do data on Ethereum, and then using like
Mm.
Dune, I guess like as a platform. And then from there, I'm like, oh, I can do this. This is very interesting
Yeah.
and kind of addictive,
Cool.
kind of hard, but like gives you a thrill once you figure it out. So
Okay, yeah. Definitely a form of nerd sniping for data scientists, I guess. I'm like, that's so beyond me. But yeah, I guess let's dive into it. I think I wanted to cover two things today primarily. It was like first, I hope most people know what Dune is, but probably just like a brief kind of introduction to what you guys do. We brought on your CTO for a community call, I think at the end of April, but people's memories are short, so we should always say things more than once. And then after that, I guess we want to dive in actually to the Dune API that you had referenced earlier. For those of you who don't know, May Dev Cook-Off is happening right now. It's a monthly hackathon. Dune is offering an extra $500 in prizes for integrating the Dune API. So this is kind of your get started kit to help you figure out what it looks like to build with it. So yeah, I mean, I guess Jackie, take it away. We could start off like give me the basics of Dune.
sure. Can you see my screen sharing?
Oh yes, I'm gonna turn it on right now. So
Okay.
now we can see it. Yes.
Okay, so let me just go to our homepage and get started there. Dune.com/home. Okay. All right, so as you see on the landing page, Dune is the community data platform for crypto. And when I think about it, I actually kind of categorize it as like two buckets. So there is the Dune.com. So if you're on crypto Twitter, I'm sure you've come across Dune dashboards. So these are, a series of dashboards that you can like click in and share. So that's more like the dashboarding side of Dune. So like the web app side of Dune. So a lot of like whether you're like a data person or just like a consumer or just like trying to understand crypto in general, this is where you like it'll be really helpful for you because you can see the trending dashboard, you can like click into them and kind of like understand with data like what's happening out there in the crypto landscape. So that's the web application part, and then another part is just Dune as like a data platform. So you can like upload data to Dune, you can download data from Dune from like a variety of different ways, and then that's kind of where the Dune API comes into play. So you can use Dune API to send data to Dune and then also fetch data from Dune. So like when you fetch data from Dune, you can do your own like, front end application or building your own infra, like whatever you kind of want to do. But yeah, so in general, Dune is the community data platform for crypto. Any questions, thoughts before I move on to Dune API?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just want to talk about Dune in general, right? Like
Yeah.
you're a big community. Like I remember when I was first introduced to Dune, it was actually because of your Dune lookbook. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. I don't know if you still have that sweet drip, but also
Uh,
if you guys don't know, you guys came out with some like really beautiful swag and did like a whole like photo shoot that was super
yeah.
high quality. And I was like, who
Let
is
me see
this?
if I can. Hold on, let me. Can I stop sharing for 1 second?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, let me find it. It currently lives on our Notion for now. We're trying to get back
Yeah.
to it,
Oh,
but
is all of it was it for sale? Is it still for sale?
it was just it wasn't like it was never really for
Oh, okay. It was, like, exclusive, so I remember my friend who's, like, super involved in Dune, she got some, and she's like, "Emily, this is worth, like, 1 ETH." Like
Oh, yeah, 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 the before I joined, I think, like, there's this OG blue hat, and then legend has it, people were offering, like, 4 ETH for this blue
Yeah,
hat, and
yeah.
I'm like and I still,
So,
like,
I
every
don't
time
know. Build on Dune, and you'll get a 4 ETH hat. No, I'm
oh,
just kidding.
I think
Okay,
I
let me
put up
pull
yeah.
this up. Yeah.
I think this is what you were referring to. So we you know we a while ago, like a few weeks ago, we put up like a job on LinkedIn, and then people I think people maybe were like applying with like ChatGPT or something, but they
Mm.
thought we're like a streetwear brand, and then they were just like applying with descriptions about like how much experience they have in like the clothing industry, and I thought it was like
Oh my
very
god,
interesting.
that's so funny. Okay.
Yeah, this is the infamous hat or the famous hat that
Yeah,
people were
yeah, yeah,
going for you
yeah.
for. But yeah,
No.
we always. I was chatting with somebody, Azora, and then he was like, "Yeah, like how do I get your swag?" I'm like, "I don't know. I got my swag from offsite."
It's too beautiful. I feel like this is the next, like, marketing play that I need to go back and tell my team about.
Um,
Um,
but yeah.
yes, but this I was sorry, we're getting off track. We need to talk about the Dune API, obviously. So I guess kind of returning back to it, and I wanna touch on Dune API a bit, right, with regards to it is relatively new, correct?
Uh, actually,
Compared to, like, okay, okay, never mind. I'm spreading misinformation.
no, well, okay. I think it's interesting you say that because right when I joined Dune, like about 2 years ago, there was like a strong demand. Like there was no API, Dune API yet, but the community kind of have always asked about, hey, like, can you have a Dune API? So in I think September, I want to say September, October, 2021, we launched Dune APIs, like first version.
Mm,
And then a lot has changed since then. But originally, so this gets into the part where I was like trying to. So actually, as of today, we had the third category, but originally it's like the core API, like what we're referring to as core API, is what was launched like 2 years ago. So the idea was basically turn any Dune query into an API. So it's very much I would say like analytics focused. So let's say we click into I guess Pump That Fund is trending right now. So we click into any Dune query. So like this is a query, and then you have the SQL logic, and then basically this is the data result of this particular query, right? And then the idea with this first iteration was like, hey, let's turn this particular query into an API endpoint, and then you can just start reading results from it. But I think this was more analytics focused, so it didn't necessarily get to the developer crowd. I think we were just like still figuring out how do we like bridge the gap between how analysts think about data, start thinking about using data versus how like developers use a data.
yeah, I mean, cool. Can you, I guess, elaborate on that, right? Like maybe in your discovery journey of how do developers use data versus analysts, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I guess with analyst, let's say you want to maybe understand the trends. So you know how like Let's see, what is a good example? Okay, just use like Linea's like voyage, like the XLP as an example, right? So as an analyst, I probably would want to know, hey, what is going on with this XLP? Like how many people hold it? Like what are the trends on like people acquiring it? And then kind of like see the relationship, like, oh, like people who hold like XLP, what else are they doing? So like very much analytics focus. So like you would have, the goal is probably for you to either have a graph of like some sort of trend, or even like full blown have a dashboard of like multiple charts, because like the end goal is to draw some sort of insights, which then would like drive some sort of initiative for yourself or for your team, whatnot. And then very much like as an analyst, you use SQL as your kind of like native language, and then you just start querying from like, I feel like we're at like 2 million tables. I lost track, but like you just start querying from like a sea of table. I'm just gonna click on Essential so that there's like just a lot of tables, and then you just like start doing your magic with the data. And then so like as an analyst, when you want to start pulling data away from Dune, is like, hey, like you want to do some sort of complicated modeling on, let's say, Python. So then you would then start doing, yeah, so then you would like, okay, put in the query ID, start extracting the results to your local like data modeling environment, and then you start doing that. So I think like the workflow, the language, that like the tech stack like people use are just very different. So like for developers, and that's actually something I'm still like trying to figure out. One, they would not like want to just write a SQL query. That's like not I guess like a language they speak. I think just like I think about them from like two different countries. Like one country is like the SQL language, and one country might be like more like the TypeScript kind, right? So it's like the language they speak is very different, and the purpose is very different. If you're like building like a wallet, or if you're building like a DAX, like what you're doing like with the data is like you need the data to power a particular user intent. And then so like for sure, I don't know how many columns. Okay, this only has 3 columns, but a lot of times as analysts, you want to fitting as many columns as possible into one data table, and that's just like not something like I guess developers like want to do. So the entire flow is very different. Like I think developers are very much used to, for example, you just like go. I'll take this as an example. You go to like a particular endpoint, and then you're able to just like kind of fetch results for a particular endpoint.
Can you zoom in a bit? My eyes are bad.
No, sorry. I should have remembered this. Whenever I record, I'm like, make it big. Can I do this? No, I cannot do this. Okay. Okay, I'll do it like that. Hopefully this is big enough.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I was just saying, like, you know, it's hard to, even though, like, when I'm talking about it now, because, like, I know what's going on, so it's like, it's simple. I'm like, oh, you can, like, put in the query ID and then turn a query into an endpoint, right? So you can do that and then get the results that way as well. What am I doing here? Yeah, I'm getting, okay, 100 random sample. So versus like here, okay, you just like, it's a specific path for it, but I think it's difficult for developers to like to wrap their head around, and they probably won't try to do that. Like, oh, there's a query, and then I can like turn query into an endpoint. Like I think what they're looking for their workflow is like, okay, do I have an API endpoint for the set of data that I want to fetch for my purpose? Yeah, so I think that's kind of maybe why 2 years ago when we launched the Dune API first version, it like it didn't even get to maybe some of your radar. It's because I think it starts with an analyst perspective, and then more recently we started doing more like this kind of API where it's like more traditional, like domain specific. There's like a specific path you can call, and then you will get like the intended data out.
Okay. So let me ask you a dumb question just so
No
you
dumb
can
question.
clarify. Because I'm definitely in the other country, but also I don't really work with TypeScript either. So I'm in
Oh,
an
okay.
even dumber country, I guess is what you could say. So with the query ID one, is that
Mhm.
more of like a custom query that someone would make? So I'm
Yeah,
assuming at that point you probably do need to know a bit of SQL because you are grabbing information
yeah,
you want specifically,
yeah, yeah.
versus LXP is something you guys have predefined
Mhm.
and is available. So anyone coming in who wants to work with LXP doesn't have to touch any SQL at all, right?
That's perfect. Perfect
Okay.
summary. Yes.
Perfect. Okay,
Thank
and this
you.
is domain. Can you explain like domain? Maybe this is kind of where we dive into the because you put 3 categories, right? Unless you wanted to talk more about domain specific APIs. I am curious how it differs.
Yeah. Okay, and then bear with me. Hopefully I can convey this. So let me start with this part. I said 3 categories because we are about to. We just had like a beta launch, or not even launch, like a soft launch of endpoint. But let's stick with 2 for now, and then we can, like, if we want to talk about the third one, actually we can. But I think it's important to get the difference between the 2, which you actually captured very well with like your last summary. Yeah. So
I did a lot
so
of these.
so it's very good. Like, okay, so the first group is kind of Dune's bread and butter. You basically work with Dune's query. So to make it more specific, we can use this again. You can see in the browser, there's query, and then there's like the query ID.
Can you zoom in?
Oh, oops. Let me see if this works. Okay, let me just do this. Okay. Um, Okay, so this is a query. This doesn't work, so I guess this works. Okay, and this is the query ID associated with this particular query, right? So when we talk about the first group of like core API, you work around the query like as your object to do anything, to either write logic or like retrieve data, whatnot. So exactly like you said, in this group, while you can still leverage the community power, like the wisdom of the community, it's probably better, like recommended, that you actually know SQL, so you know like what kind of data you're pulling from. So here, like, if I were to pull data from this, I'll come here, I would try to like understand the logic a little bit more before I use the core API endpoint to start pulling results. So that's the first group. And then the second group, the domain specific API, exactly like you said, it is more predefined. So like the previous core group, it's more custom. Like you could do any logic you want with all the data we have, which is like pretty much like anything you like. The sky is your limit. Anything you can imagine, as long as you know how to write SQL or how to find SQL query for your need, you're good to go. You can just like start pulling that away. Versus the domain specific ones are like what we curated for you. So like with Linea, for example, like we curated the query for you. So I've written this particular query logic, right? So somebody else, aka me in this case, like took care of the query logic for you.
Mm.
And then you're able to just directly call this endpoint and then get the data. Like, so in this case, it will be like the XLP balance for the wallet. And then if that wallet is connected with like Farcaster, it will like kind of serve you their social activity status, as well as like their how much on-chain transactions they did, that sort of like fun stats. Yeah, so actually maybe this is even a good example to kind of do this. So here, right? So here is actually a query, and then as you can see, this query has a query ID.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you.
Yes. Yeah.
Can we start from the very beginning of like how do I even navigate to this page you're on?
Okay.
Slash,
Yeah.
what page are you on right now? I don't even know.
Okay. So good question. Good question. So I think maybe okay. So let's anchor today's conversation more on the domain specific ones, because I think there is a bigger gap from domain specific to core API. Okay, so with the domain specific one, so you just go to like docs.dune.com, and then you land here, and then you go to the API reference, which is like everything related to our API. And then in the intro/landing page, you can find domain specific API. So here is like where you can explore. So For the project-specific ones, I'll click into it, and right now we have the Linea XLP, I guess, topic as an endpoint. So I click into there. So that's how I landed on this page.
Okay, nice. Thank you. Helpful.
No, thanks for asking. Pull me back, because sometimes I'm like way too deep.
Yeah, I
It's
get
actually
it.
making sense for people. Okay. So I'm on this page, right? And actually, why don't we just start using this page? I'm going to go to. I'm gonna create like a demo API key for our like workshop purpose. And I will delete it right after. So do not use it after this workshop. It will not work. Let's see. So I will go to here, API. There is also a doc that tells you how to do the API key, but it's pretty intuitive. You just go to setting and then you can see the API. There's a lot of people on our team, but in general, it shouldn't be this overwhelming of keys. And then you just create a key. So Linea workshop. Okay, so I will generate the key. I will copy it. I'll leave this page open to come back to it later in case I close it. Where was I? Okay, right here. Okay, so the API key is your authentication. And then here it tells me, hey, get the Linea XLP balance for wallet along with Farcaster social stats and on-chain behavior metric. I'm like, okay, cool, I will do that. So I just want to test it out a little bit. So I will just grab 10 rows to begin with instead of grabbing literally everybody's info, right? So I'll do a send. Awesome. This live demo did not fail me. Awesome feeling. Yeah, so as you can see, this is the result from this particular endpoint. So here is under the rows. Maybe I make it a little bigger. Okay, so under the rows is what you will see like data is from. So I just grabbed like a random 10 wallets, Linea XLP, and then other stats. So you can see, hey, like were they active on Farcaster in the past 14 days? How many contracts this wallet's like ever deployed on chain, and then the current XLP balance for this person is 4934, which is quite high, I feel. And you can see this guy has been on chain for 900 plus days. So years this person has been on chain. And then you can just see, across all the dexes, this is like the volume that they've ever swapped on dexes. And then they've done like 5 quests to get their 4,000 plus XLP. So that's kind of how you can pull data from a domain-specific endpoint. So like you said, like a predefined endpoint that we've curated for you. So you no need to touch SQL. Like it's just like done for you. So you can go explore whatever domain-specific endpoints you want and see if there's anything that fits your need. I'll pause here.
Okay, cool. So I guess kind of examples of how maybe people would leverage this is like one piece, I guess you grab all the data. So it's just another way to, I guess, consume and visualize data for people who don't want to do the query, right?
Yeah.
I guess the other way would be like action oriented usage. So is this assuming like, oh, I can pull in this data and then just like conditionally say like, oh, if you're an LXP holder who has done like deployed smart contracts or is active on Farcaster, then I execute XYZ and like things like that. So like
Exactly.
that's the two ways I guess maybe people would potentially interact with it.
Yes.
Okay.
I yeah, love it. Love that setting. So if you need the data for any front end, like you said, you can like fetch it and display and do your dApp thingy. And then if you want the data to kind of conditionally execute the next step, then you can also do it. So I guess maybe this is a good point to talk about the API endpoints, like I guess features maybe like
Yeah.
are upon it. So you could do pagination. So here I'm basically doing pagination, but with like 10 records. So it's kind of like a fake example. But the point is you can enter like how many records you want in one call, and then you can keep going for the next, and it will tell you like the next pages like URI, whatnot. So like you can use a combo of like limit and offset to get the next page to do pagination, and then you can also just do filtering, like the traditional filtering on top of this create endpoint. So let's say you want to get in our current example, yeah, let's see, this guy doesn't have an FID. So let's just make sure fname is not equal to nothing. Okay, so here I'm like trying to tell it, hey, like I want to find wallets who actually are connected with Farcaster. So like to give me a bit more information, I guess, like fun information about this particular person, right? So let me do that. I'll just do like limit equals to 1 so we can see what happens. All right, cool. So this person is kind of active, but it's like active as an NPC, so a little bit active, but not really. And then you can see per Farcaster's like registration, they have a thing where you can connect your wallet, multiple wallets to the account, right? You can see these are like the associated wallets with this one person. You have the contract deployed, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so you can see this is the Farcaster account's ID, and Dambier is this person's name. And then you can see that the top channels that Dambier has been active on are on-chain, guild, and MMO. Very interesting. I will go sleuth out what that channel is. And then you can see that Iman2 has been interacting a lot with Dambier in the past 14 days. So you can like filter, I guess. You can do the regular filtering to kind of see the results that you want. And then you can also sort by. And then I think where sort by comes in is like, let's say you want to find the top 1 user who's done like the most on-chain contracts deployment. You just do like sort by. I forgot the contract name, but you do like contracts deployed and then in a descending order, and then you do limit 1, and you're able to like just get that. So you can do pagination, filtering, and then sorting for these predefined domain-specific endpoints.
Interesting. Okay. Cool. That makes a lot of sense. Do you have any examples of like people using the Dune API?
Let's see. I have an example that I just built with the Dune data frame, like the Dune data frame. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So do I have it here? GitHub. Dune Linea, is that a thing? That is a thing. Okay, cool. I am going to go to a frame. Okay, so this frame is built with, is this the endpoint? Nope. This is the endpoint. So this this Warpcast frame is built with this particular endpoint that we were just talking about. So it like fetches the LXP balance as well as other social metrics and on-chain metrics. And I guess quick background on Warpcast/frame. Warpcast is kind of the crypto decentralized social. And then they came up with this concept of a frame. So basically, when you scroll through your frame, your feed, you're able to kind of like click buttons and start interacting directly. So that's what a frame is. So here is the frame to check the XLP balance. So I'm going to click on Get My XLP. And then what here does is like it checks my account and the connected wallet address for my account and see if any of this account have in Linea like XLP associated with it. And unfortunately, I don't have any XLP, but that's okay. We could go back. Do you have like a wallet you want me to check top of your head? Probably not. I guess I could go grab it from.
I'll probably just use my wallet.
Okay.
I guess you do you input one? Okay.
Yeah, you can input one.
Let me send. Can you use what do you call it? ENS or?
I have not programmed that in, but that's a great addition in the next stage.
Let me grab. I have a paltry amount of LXP, so That's what happens when you work at Linea. You don't have time to do all this stuff that
Well, it's
helps you
kind of
get.
like was it like the touring thing we're talking about now? Okay, basically, like if you live in like I'm from like Asian, but like I haven't really been to a lot of Asian countries, and I feel like similarly, like if you're from like a particular country, you're like, oh, I can always visit, like it's fine, and then you like start like going to other countries.
Yeah.
With uh, okay, get wallet XLP. Oh, oops.
Oh no.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Okay.
Really? Oh, sad.
Sad, sad. Wait, do you really not have it?
I have 443.
Okay, okay. Well, apologies, live demo problems. I will take a look later at what's happening. Maybe we go into the surprise mode in light of this. So if you don't know any, I guess like wallet address, and if you don't have any, I thought maybe it was fun to just like surprise me with somebody else's
Mm.
stats. So this person, Funky, 0x Funky, have 1,433 XLP, and not really active on Farcaster, but you can see okay, deployed night contracts has been on chain for about a year. Okay, maybe one more on the weekend.
So is this like deployed contracts on Linea specifically or in general or?
This is deployed contracts on. I need to double check the query logic, but it includes a few EVM chains. I need to like double check specifically which of the EVMs, but it is like kind of cross chain. It aggregates cross chain how many contracts you've deployed.
But then I guess do you guys support testnet or just mainnet?
Just mainnet.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess this is one example of how the Dune API can be incorporated in. And I guess another example, I don't have like the code pulled in front of me, but CowSwap have these like solver rewards that they distribute out. So they use the Dune API to kind of like does the data pooling for like who should be rewarded, and then from there start distributing like how much each wallet deserves from the solver reward. So that's like another example top of my head on how people use Dune API. But yeah, so I guess for this Linea cook-off, I'm really excited to see kind of with the Dune API, like how creative people can get. Because I always feel like I love talking to people with big ideas, and they're like, the sky is limit. I can do this. I can do that. So I'm like very excited to see more about it.
Cool. Can you like go into the code a bit of like what it looks like to actually integrate
Yeah.
the Dune API with this frame?
Yeah. So I feel like I had it. Yes, I had it. Let's see. Okay, let me make it bigger.
One more.
One more. Okay, one more.
Yay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yay. Okay. Yes. So I am using Frog FM, which for the longest time I thought like how you're really into frog, and then for the longest time I thought your frog is this frog, and then I realized it's probably different frogs.
My frog is 696. Are you talking about my e-frog?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I'm using this framework called Frog FM to build the Warpcast frame. This particular part, like the basically two files here. There's a index.tsx file, and there's the dune.ts file, right? So the index part, I'm not gonna go too much into it, but basically this particular file just takes care of the this part that you're seeing. So like the front end part, it has like the frame, it has like all the button interaction, and then you can do some action upon clicking the button. And switching back. So the Dune.ts file is the part where, it does the interaction. So let's see, what is a good example? Let's just do this particular function to see. So let me copy paste this and over here. Okay, so in this frame, if certain condition is met from the front end interaction, right? And then I will go grab the LXP. Wow, this is a really hard word to say. The LXP stats associated with this particular FID, and the FID is passed on from the frame, from a verified frame to me by Farcaster. So I'm using Nanar for that. But yeah, anyway, so I have the FID passed in, and then I want to get a mapping, where I guess an array of the stats of like, hey, like what's the FID, what is your LXP token, how many days you've been on chain, yada yada. So that's kind of what I'm doing. So I'm invoking this function, and then on this other side within this function, I first make sure that I'm like authenticated with an API key. So here is in a sample file for like .m. You basically enter your Dune API key here. And here's just like a filler. But with that, it grabs the Dune API key from the end, and then with that, you pass in the authentication in the header, right? And then next step is you just basically invoke this endpoint that we were just like talking about a lot. And then here I'm doing a filtering condition on FID equals to whatever the front end FID is passed in. And then you call it. And then once you call it, you basically get the results. So here I'm just kind of like parsing the results so that it does it for the front end. So let's see if I can do it here. Okay, so this is the front end associated with it. I'm just going to do a surprise me, but just pretend the surprise me is from an FID, because my wallet doesn't have any token like LXP, so it's kind of boring. Okay, so I already clicked. So on here, you can see the logs. Yes, so fetching LXP stats for this particular FID, and then you can see the results being returned from I guess like the server code to the front end is like this, and then the front end does some sort of parsing to make sure. So it's pretty easy, honestly. Like you just need to make sure you're authenticated, you're calling the right endpoint, and then you're utilizing filtering and other things if you want, like pagination and whatnot correctly. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I have a few questions. I guess like, how is this different from like indexers, or is it just it is an indexer? So like I feel like the typical way of going about this would be building a graph, for example.
Yes,
Or yeah.
yeah. It's like, yeah, so it's like similar, right? So the query logic that we have for this endpoint here, like instead of defining it in a subgraph way, I'm basically defining it in the Dune SQL way, right? I'm using Dune SQL to define the logic to pull data from actually this involves many chains, but just like let's say for Linea, so like I'm getting data from the Linea chain, and then I'm getting data from like other chains. I'm like telling it the logic to index the data, so you say, and then I have the indexed data, so the results associated with this logic, and then it just gets served from the endpoint, and then I'm able to pull it back. So I would say like conceptually it's very similar to like how you define a subgraph, just like with a different language. And then another conceptual difference is like when you do subgraphs, right? You're defining it from a particular RPC endpoint, and then you tell it how to transform. But here it's like you tell it how to transform, but you're able to tell it how to transform on top of other things. It's not just like one RPC endpoint for Linea, because here like we're getting data from Nanar, which is the data provider for Warpcast. So I'm getting data from there as well, and then I'm able to pull data from like on-chain activities. I think it has like maybe 5 or 6 EVM L2s, so I'm able to like also do it from there. So it's more how do we say, it's more
Flexible,
flexible and more complete, like a better and
robust.
more complete picture
Yeah.
of the on-chain data ecosystem.
Cool. So I do want to briefly touch on the custom, I guess the core API, just for people who are interested in working outside the bounds
Yes,
of
yes,
LXP.
yes.
Of like, how does it work? How do I create this query ID?
Yep. Okay, so let's do that. And I also want to preface, when you're doing the hackathon and if you are struggling with creating custom API endpoints, just DM me, let me know. Very happy to work through this with you because I
Yeah.
think there is a bit of a learning curve with writing SQL. So let me just do, so on the Dune platform, the web app part, you just go do create a new query. What would be a good thing to create right now? I'm just gonna go.
Sorry, is this still docs.dune?
Sorry, this is Dune.com.
Okay.
Thanks for asking. Yeah. So Dune.com, and then you do create new query, and then I'm gonna just do something really basic with Linea. Transactions, maybe. Okay, let's do transactions. Select star from limit 10. Very basic stuff. Also, I should not have done select star, but we're trying to do something very basic here. So this is a query that graphs a random 10 transactions from linear transactions, and these are the column names. So I'm just gonna go do save. How do we do Linea workshop? Yay! Okay, so I'm gonna save it here, and then so this is my API. This is my query ID. I'm gonna copy paste here. So this is like literally you have the query. So this is your query, and then you have a query ID. I think this is too small to see, but basically it's like dune.com/queries/ and then that ID right after it is the query ID. But you can equally just click on the API and then get this number. Whatever number shows up there is your query ID. And then you grab that. And let's go over, where is my, okay. I am going to come here. Going to change the query ID to be this new one that we just made. And where is my save button? Okay, save button, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Going over to here. So now it should have the newer one. 37. Okay, that looks like a newer one. So let's just do, I'm not even gonna do limit because there's only 10 rows. Send. And then let's make this scroll. Okay. Okay, and now you can see we've got the data like we just created on this side, right? So you got like the block time, block number, yada yada yada, over on from the API endpoint. So like all you need is really to create the query on the web app, and then once you're like, you verify the results are like okay to your desire, and then you come over to wherever you want to grab the data. So using Postman to demo, and then you just get the data table from the data results on the other side.
Okay. Other question, because I'm bad at SQL. So for the core API, does that mean you're limited to things that SQL can grab? So for example, in the domain specific one, you were able to couple forecaster information with Linea information, like on-chain stuff. Can you do that in a core API?
Yes, absolutely. Anything that's possible with domain, because the domain specific API under the hood
Is a core
is
API.
a query. So it's like the sky is the limit.
How do you do
Or
that?
maybe not the
Is
sky.
that SQL? Can SQL like pull information for forecaster?
Yeah, because if
Oh,
you
okay.
have the data, like if you have the data, like let's see, do I have this endpoint? Let me just go here. So this is the query that powers the Linea XLP endpoint. Yeah, so this is where the forecaster data table is at. So it's like Dune.naner, and then there's a bunch of tables related to forecaster data. So it's like as long as the data exists on Dune, you could do anything.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then
So
if the data don't exist, you can upload it to Dune if you can have control of that data.
I see. I see. Okay. Cool. That makes more sense. So you can do this because Nanar has brought in information from Farcaster. Otherwise, you would have to manually import all the information yourself. Is that
Yeah,
what you're
yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have the Nader data. The Nanar data is the community data set that was brought in. So these are all the Nanar data tables for Farcaster, and then you can just query it directly from there.
Yeah. So for core APIs, does that mean you can use like I guess you could go into other people's dashboards and take their queries and make that your query ID?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's the more fun part. Let's see. Let's just use a C Launch one. C Launch is a great creator, and then I'm like, oh, the roll-up process. That always sounds very nice. I'm gonna come here. I'm like, okay, he's query makes sense. Um, Honestly, if you don't want to touch anything, you can just directly do API and do that. But it's not really recommended because C Launch is the owner of this query, right? And like as the owner of this query, he can feel free to do whatever, and he will break your pipeline.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you should fork it, and then save it, and then from there grab the query ID to do your thing.
Okay. Okay, great. I love that. Copy other people's work. That's the
Yeah,
key
that's
thing
where
here.
the community power
That's
comes
where the
in.
community comes from. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. This is great. Okay. Um, what was I gonna say? Yeah, okay, so that means we had a few eFrog dashboards created in April, so if you wanna mess around with those queries that
Ooh,
they created, um, yeah,
let's
feel
see.
free to, I guess the JavaScript developers, you can bring this in.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I will also say, right, like ChatGPT is pretty good at SQL queries, maybe, yes,
Oh,
no?
yes. Let me also show you something. Dune embedded ChatGPT. The Dune
Oh,
AI.
really? Cool.
Yeah. Okay, let's another live demo session. Let's see find the OpenSea volume in the last 7 days by day. Let's find out. Doo-doo-doo. Yes. So basically, this is the Dune AI, and it actually leverages the knowledge of Dune queries.
Mm.
But like I also just go to ChatGPT like all the time for something like small syntax. And then once you enter into the territory of writing Dune SQL query, again, I think the docs.dune.com is a great place to go. Why? One, it like tells you because I was sharing like maybe you have like 1 to 2 million data tables. This is really overwhelming. Like me personally, I struggle to find things, but here like it's very nice. It tells you like what are the chain out there, and then like it tells you okay, like if I want to know the token balances, like what are the tables I should query? If I want to know the transfers of ERC20, what are the tables I should query? So there's like more, I guess, organized information for the data tables, and then it like also you can see how fresh the data is per your need. So that's one thing. So coming here like will allow you to get a better picture of like what data we have. And then here I also frequently comes here to check like query engine, which is like the engine that powers the SQL query logic, right? Manipulation. And you will run into need of like needing to transform the data. And there's like a lot of functions here that will help you. Yeah, so just want to mention if you venture into the territory of start creating Dune SQL, definitely check the docs page out for us. And let me come over here. Okay, cool. So here I'm telling it to find the OpenSea volume find the OpenSea volume. This is not grammatically correct. I just realized,
In
but
the
the
4
OpenSea
last 7
volume
days. Hey, but it
for
did
the
it.
last 7 days, and it did it. And then this is the query results. And then if I want to like verify what is happening behind the scene, I save and continue. And then yes, and then it writes SQL for you. And then if you have like other need, you can start tweaking it with this, and then you can click edit, and it will like edit the query on your behalf.
Cool. We have some questions. So, private queries. They exist? Are they visible?
Yes, they exist. If you want to protect your logic, you can make your query private, and then if you don't have access, you're just gonna get like a, not found 404 404 page. So yeah, they do exist. Most people don't really use it. Like I would say, people who build on Dune are like, they want to share it with the community, like build on the community strength. So most of the queries I would say like are public.
Cool. And then we have another question just for those of you tuning in late. Hope this recorded. It is recorded. You can find it. I guess it will live on LinkedIn, but it's easier to find it on YouTube. So if you guys are not on youtube.com like if you're not watching from YouTube and you're watching from like a different site, uh this is, I think that's our handle at Linea Build. That's where you can find us. Yeah. This is really cool. I feel excited to learn SQL. I don't know. Maybe I
We're
don't
gonna
know.
merge type you into the SQL data world.
I don't know. I think it's like more so it's exciting because I feel like I have more of a reason to, if
Mm.
that makes sense. Like bridging the gap between the two countries.
Yes,
You know
yes.
what I mean? It's just like
Yeah, you
never.
asked great questions in the session, so very,
Oh,
very
okay.
excited
Thank
to
you.
see you come over and visit us, and I
Yes,
will
yes.
also come over to visit you guys.
Yeah, the cute Linea girls. Um, cool. Yeah, I guess the last piece again was you mentioned, if people are building and they have any questions, best way to get in contact is, I don't know, can you just like plop your Twitter on here
Oh
or something?
yes. Let's see. Twitter is at Dune Analytics. How do I do that? Let me
I can also throw it on the scene. Oh, whoops.
let me find it from my other.
Dune Analytics. That's
Uh,
the Twitter, and then I guess to reach, yeah, okay, cool. Awesome.
and then to reach me, my handle is Aga Pearstay on Twitter. So you can DM me for things. And then we also have a Dune Discord channel, and there's a dedicated API channel for Dune API, I guess, if you want to ask questions there. Uh,
Cool.
but yeah, so
Yeah.
you feel free to DM me, just like if you want to ideate, have questions, but also leverage the power of the community. Go to the Discord and ask your questions about SQL query with Dune API. There's channels for them.
Yeah. And then I guess if you're in the Linea Builders Club, you can just bother me and I'll bother Jackie directly.
Yes, yes.
Um, cool. So that is the link for registering. I'm gonna put this up. $500. It's it's a it's a good amount of money. I think we're splitting it between 5 projects, but
Yeah.
eager to see what people build. Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to plug eFrogs. So write a custom query connecting how many LXP holders are eFrog holders and how can eFrogs get more LXP? I don't know. That's just me being selfish. I don't know if this is like the next novel use case so much as useful for me specifically. Um
Yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be cool. And then yeah, I'm just like very excited to see more about the Dune API usage, I guess, creative usage of it, because like I feel like my imagination sometimes is like not is kind of capped. So I'm like, okay, I can think about the front
Yeah.
end app where like there's the cool frame idea. Like I know you could do like solver rewards, but like what else? I feel like that's like in my mind. So I'm like, I feel like the
Yeah.
internet always surprise you in a nice way. So we shall see.
So I do have a question about becoming a smart contract developer. I think the first piece is it is very easy to become a Dune developer, at least like with the ChatGPT query. That's really cool. But if you guys are curious about like building the end-to-end kind of experience and then integrating Dune at the end, quick plug. So if you go see HackQuest with the underscore afterwards on Twitter, I guess they're can you see? Am I sharing my screen? Just making
Yes,
sure.
I can see it.
Okay, cool. We have a whole like learning track where you can learn Solidity basics for developing what do you call it? Blah 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 blah. Yeah, smart contracts the first place, and then building an NFT Dutch auction, landing in a social dApp. I believe there's like a Farcaster frame guided project. Oh yeah, here we go. And you can do MetaMask snaps afterwards. So that's kind of your basis for doing the full like smart contract development, hooking up to the front end, and then the last step would be like modifying what you'd learned with the Dune API. Um, so yeah, I guess that answered here. Let me send this guy into the question. Oh, I'll stop sharing my screen. Um, but yeah, I guess this is a whole comprehensive thing of how you get together. Anything else you wanted to call out, Jackie?
Anything else I want to call out? Docs.dune.com is your friend. Go there. And yeah, just have fun, get creative. Let us know what you want to do. If you need any help, I guess come to Emily or come to me. We're very eager to help you in this May cook-off.
Yes. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So again, plug. If you want to join the Linea Builders Club and get access, I guess to me personally, and by that proxy, Jackie personally, you can get in if you register for the hackathon. But yeah, okay, cool. I don't think I have anything else to say other than like thank you so much for joining. This is a super great learning session.
Yeah,
I think
it was
there's
great
a
briefing
lot of
about things.
my brain is moisturized.
Should
That's
we? I don't know if like we should mention more about the judging process or like the where is that going to come separately for
Oh, I
like.
mean, yeah, if you wanna talk about how you guys are judging, go for
Oh,
it.
well, I was more referring to like the linear cook off. So I guess
Oh,
like
yeah, cool, let me pull up the, um I don't remember it the top of my head because I made it too cute, the
oh.
judging criteria.
All right. So
Um
while you do that, I'll just say from the Dune API track itself, very simple, the most creative usage of Dune API. Very eager. I feel like I said this like a million times already, but very eager to see what comes out from this.
Okay, cool. Okay, so if you want, like, the details on everything, you can go to our docs. Here, let me send this over. Okay, it's probably also easier if I just share my screen again because we are all visual people.
Yes.
Share. Look at this. Okay, cool. So if you go to docs.linea build and then hackathon, so this is a full page, you can get some like helpful links for getting test ETH and stuff like that. Where was I? So that's the basics of different things you can submit. Where's the judging criteria? If you notice, it spells frog. Functionality and technicality. So basically, like how well does it work? If we were to play around with it, how complex it is. I will say, if it's just like a NFT smart contract and then a very simple UI, I guess that's a great first start, I think. And I would definitely love to see people build something simple, like build on top of it in the next month and the month after that. You do have a full month or like future months to like improve, right? So there's varying levels of complexity. So I think technicality is one of the ways we measure against. Really great UX. Is it easy to understand? I will say one of the good things about like the things you should explore, and we had a guy from Particle I think last week, is like account abstraction, social login, like how easy it for a non Web3 dev or what not Web3 native person to kind of integrate originality, so that kind of fits into creative, like how new is this. And then gosh darn it, this is cool. I think this is just kind of like a sometimes, you might not score high on everything, but like in your gut, you just know this is a really cool project. Um, so that's kind of the basic judging criteria. Where did I put it? Oh, yeah, and then this is actually one of the biggest differentiators when, like, we score all the projects and then they start shifting around is, like, bonus points for adding, partner tooling, which you can find here. Dune would be an example of partner tooling. We add a full point for integrating it, which is huge, right?
Oh,
So like last month, we had people integrate like third web or cross protocol. I think the graph as well. So now instead of integrating the graph, you can use Dune. Um, I shouldn't say this because I'm giving a workshop at Graph like in a week or two.
it's different.
But
It's different. You know,
it's different. Yeah,
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 yeah.
different use cases, but that's kind of what we're looking for, and I think, like, the basics for Dune, right, is obviously use Dune. There will be a submission requirement where you have to show off how you use Dune in the code, you know? But yeah, I guess that's it. We are over time, which is fine. But yeah, cool. Other questions? I love Dune, but I can't see a night mode.
It's on the top right corner. There's a
Yeah.
sign. Uh, emoji or example.
Cool. The most important thing to know. Um, yeah, so I think that's all we have. I guess tomorrow we have another workshop with on this.xyz for those of you who aren't, I guess, familiar with shortcuts and intents. That is something to look forward to. And it's tomorrow, 10 a.m. Cool. So again, I want to say thank you, Jackie.
Thank you
Um,
for having me.
you've just
Thank
been
you for
sitting
the
here and
wonderful
listening to
questions.
talk. But yeah. Cool. So I will stop. I know there's lag, so I always end with like a countdown from 10 while you awkwardly look at me. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, lag is over. See ya, everybody. Cool.